Are you trying to establish your brand as a thought leader? Start a podcast, invite industry experts to be guests on your show, and watch your brand become the prime resource for decision makers in your industry. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to B2B Growth, a daily podcast for B2B leaders. We've interviewed names you've probably heard before, like Gary Vaynerchuk and Simon Sinek, but you've probably never heard from the majority of our guests. That's because the bulk of our interviews aren't with professional speakers and authors. Most of our guests are in the trenches leading sales and marketing teams. They're implementing strategy. They're experimenting with tactics. They're building the fastest growing B2B companies in the world. My name is James Carberry. I'm the founder of Sweetfish Media, a podcast agency for B2B brands, and I'm also one of the co-hosts of this show. When we're not interviewing sales and marketing leaders, you'll hear stories from behind the scenes of our own business. We'll share the ups and downs of our journey as we attempt to take over the world. Just kidding. Well, maybe. Let's get into the show.
Welcome back to B2B Growth. I am your host for today's episode, Nikki Ivy with Sweetfish Media. Guys, I've got with me today Adrian Cohn, who is Director of Brand Strategy and Communication at Smartling. And we're going to be talking about one of the human elements of the global economy, and that is translators and translation. You're going to have your mind blown. I don't want to blow the rest of it. Before we get into any of that, Adrian, I would love it if you would just give us a little bit of background on yourself and what you and the folks at Smartling have been up to these days.
Nikki, thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here with you today. Yeah, I'm overseeing brand and communications at Smartling, which is this unbelievable technology and translation services business that works with some of the most prominent brands in the world so that they can deliver that world-class customer experience to users who speak different languages. So think e-commerce companies, think travel companies, think your apps on your phone. All of those are great tools for us who speak English and for people who speak Spanish or French or Portuguese or Chinese. And we just help them with that process of delivering those experiences to people all around the world.
Yes, you do. And like I said, I can't wait to get into this. And so you guys have this project, this new book coming out, Move the World with Words. And in it, you guys really do a great job. Guys, I got a little preview and I have to say, I was almost at a loss for words, and y'all who listen to the show know that that's a feat for me. Like, that's a thing. So I can't wait for you to sort of bring this to people, but to sort of frame the topic.
Yeah.
A lot of folks don't really understand or aren't really in touch with this really important role that translators play in moving the global economy and global marketing strategies forward. Dig into that for us, Adrian.
Yeah, well, I think, all of this, Nikki, started with an idea. And that idea was that the world really does move on words. And if we think about the products and the services that you and I consume on a daily basis, a lot of them are now digital products. We're logging into social media applications. We're using ride-hail apps to get from point A to B. And the experience are the words that are within these applications, are the words that are used by marketers to sell and market the experiences that you can use on a daily basis. And it's become a really important tool to help get your brand exposed to the marketplace. So what we've done is we've taken a look at who are the people behind the content for these experiences in all of the different languages around the world. And we did something kind of crazy. We sent a photographer and storyteller around the world to meet with 12 of our translators. And we're publishing a really beautiful 160-page coffee table book that kind of gives you an opportunity to get to know translators and their personal lives and professional lives.
I think that that's incredible. And I like that, sort of the spirit behind this. Yes, it is, by the way, a really smart marketing and branding play. But the spirit behind this was so much bigger than that. It was about, Adrian and I talked offline about, just increasing the connectivity between the folks who are engaging with this technology and the folks who are making this thing possible. So talk about some of your experiences once you got started with this thing. that surprised you guys?
Yeah. So first, embarking on a global campaign, a global marketing campaign is always challenging. And when that global marketing campaign actually requires you to go around the world to produce it, there's a lot that you're going to learn in that process. Thankfully, we were working with some unbelievable people to produce this. First, the entire marketing team at Smartling played a big role in organizing this campaign, but we also partnered with a photographer named Elizabeth Brentano. Her Instagram handle is Elizabeth on the Road, and she spells her name with an S. And she was just an unbelievable creative to work with on this project. In very short order, she hopped on a plane and spent 5 weeks traveling to France and Italy and Turkey and Germany and Japan. And I know it sounds great, Nikki, and I'm sure it was, but for her, it was absolutely exhausting. But what she learned and what we learned through this process, Nikki, is that every single person counts. And that's really important because today in marketing, today in the world, we sometimes forget about all of the people who make things possible because there's so much technology that's powering the consumer experience, that's powering our lives. But for every single thing that you interact with on a day-to-day basis, there are people, whether it be developers or marketers or customer service representatives. There are people who make that experience possible. And for our business, it's translators who make the experience possible for people worldwide to enjoy the things that you and I enjoy natively in English on a day-to-day basis.
For sure. Thanks so much for sharing that with us. And so help our listeners understand the relationship between Smartling and these translators. So are the translators, are they contractors for you guys? Are they direct employees? And talk about how they engage in the culture of the company itself and how they enrich it.
Yeah, it's a great question. So I'll actually talk about how the whole sort of global commerce pipeline takes place.
Sure.
We work with companies that have to launch their product or service, whether it be a marketing website or a web application or a mobile application, in multiple languages. They come to us, they use our technology to automate process around translation, and we hire translators to take their content from typically in English and translate it into different languages. And we work specifically with freelance translators. We have hundreds of them all located around the world, and they log into our platform to translate content for our customers. So we play a really strategic role between the customer and the translator, but we've also done, which is unique to our industry, is we're bridging the gap between the customer and the translator by introducing them to one another so that they can collaborate on the project and make sure that the brand message and the content is authentic to each of our customers' companies and their brand voice.
That's really difficult to pull off. So much of what you just said is what people who all work together in the same office, sometimes have a hard time doing. And so that's why I asked that question. Part of it is, selfishly trying to, see if there's anything I can steal, right? Sweetfish Media, I don't know if a lot of folks know this, is a 100% remote team. And we do have folks around the world who kind of do a lot of what you guys do, and not exactly translating at all, but we do attempt to move the world with words. And it is important. It is important to have the folks that, are the sort of the enactors of that, folks who are actually making that move, feel like they're a part of the bigger idea, the bigger problem that the company itself solves. And so if you guys are executing that, if you guys are doing that, then, you're already winning. What's next? That's what I have to ask. So let us know when the book comes out, how folks can get a hold of it, and what the next thing is for Smartling and what you guys do.
Yeah, absolutely, Nikki. So we started this project in February, and the book is going to press in September, and it will be available towards the end of September. So you can sign up now for updates at smartling.com/book. And we're going to kick off this book with two amazing events. We're doing a translation summit in London on September 15th. And it's September 17th. And we're going to have an entire day focused on how companies can improve their translation outcomes. We're going to have translators there. We're going to be delivering amazing content sessions so that people can learn about how to take advantage of the translators featured in the book and how to work with them a little bit more closely to realize better results. And then the following week, we're going to do the same conference in New York. So we're going to have different people presenting, but the same content so that everybody in both EMEA and in the United States can get really good experience with our translation services team and learn a little bit about how they can become a little bit more mature in translation and localization. But it really is just the beginning, Nikki. The whole concept and idea behind Move the World with Words is that the entire industry looks at translation differently. Mm-hmm. We are a really, really key part of global commerce. Without translators, there would be absolutely no global commerce because people simply wouldn't be able to consume the experiences that people listening to your show are creating. For sure. So it's really special. For decades, translation's been looked at as an afterthought. Companies have built a website, and then in the 11th hour, they're like, ooh, we have to translate this. How do we do that? What we'd love to see is people thinking about translation from day zero and help understanding how important it is to global commerce from day zero.
Right. And so that's, for me, been the most impactful part of hearing your story. And a lot of folks that listen to this show will know this. Like, look, we talk so much about when it comes to branding and marketing, even when we're talking about personal brand strategy, right? About how important it is for, folks to get out there and make these connections. And a lot of the time, still what we're engaging with, it's often, a VP, director, or C-level individual from whatever the company is that's got a voice on whatever the channel is, right? And they end up becoming, for better and for worse, and usually for better, like I said, the face or the voice of that company, but it's limited in ways that I hadn't thought of before this conversation to whatever language that person speaks or, whatever channel or medium that person is using. And so two things have happened here. You've opened it up because we're talking about translating. We're talking about making things more accessible to a greater number of people through translation. But we're also talking about taking folks who don't often end up being the face of a brand, who don't often end up being the voice of a brand, and putting a spotlight on those folks and giving them their due. And it is, I'm telling you, it's such an impactful thing that you guys are doing. And I'm so glad that you came here to share this with us. And I can't wait myself to be able to take a look at the book and just absorb what you guys are doing. And so thanks again for that. Now that I have successfully picked your brain and see what I can get out of it, Adrian, it's time for you to tell us what you are putting in it. So talk to us about, and I know that you just had this little big learning experience with, this book, what you guys are doing, but talk to us about a learning resource that you've been engaging with that has, either informed your approach or that's just got you excited these days.
Yeah. Well, I think that always learning is an essential part of my life. You need to always be skilling up and understanding how you can improve personally and professionally. And the biggest change that I made this year in my professional life is that I actually hired an executive coach. And I'm not a vice president of marketing. I'm not a CEO. I'm not in the C-suite. So it might sound a little strange that I have an executive coach, but what I've learned through working with this person is that I can identify things that can be potentially dangerous to my career personally. And I'm learning how to understand those risks and how to mitigate them. So it could be how to have better conversations with colleagues, how to think more strategically about expanding ideas from what I might have on my own to incorporating the ideas of other people who have insight and visibility into a specific project or task. So it's been a really great learning experience, Nikki. I would recommend an executive coach to anybody. And I think that in the long term, it's going to pay off in major ways.
I love that answer. I love that you have taken this step before I don't know what your goals are as far as, where you see yourself in 5 years, but as long as what the end game is here, but that you've taken these steps ahead of time. It's not surprising that it's a person associated with this project that we just talked about would take such a smart and strategic step. It's a great answer. It's not one that I don't think I've gotten yet on the show. And, I got to tell you, this has been what a Monday, what a way to start my day, having this conversation with you and just getting all this shared with me today. One more thing. I know that folks like me, I'm gushing, folks out there who are listening have become fans of yours as well. Just that quick. Let us know how people can connect with you, Adrian.
Absolutely. Well, I'm on LinkedIn. My name is Adrian Cohn, so you can find me there. I'm also on Twitter, Adrian Cohn. But you can also follow us on Smartling's Twitter handle, which is @Smartling. But my favorite form of communication for the company right now is our Instagram account, which is @Smartling Inc. But you can also, just find me on LinkedIn. That's the easiest way to probably get in touch with me.
Perfect. I'll be stalking all of those channels.
Okay. I'll be ready.
And we'll have to have you on again here in the future once this book's become the amazing success that I know that it's going to be, to talk about that and what other things you guys have learned from this journey. Thank you again so much, Adrian. I'm glad you came on and shared this with us today.
Thank you, Nikki.
We totally get it. We publish a ton of content on this podcast, and it can be a lot to keep up with. That's why we've started the B2B Growth Big Three, a no-fluff email that boils down our 3 biggest takeaways from an entire week of episodes. Sign up today at sweetfishmedia.com/big3. That's sweetfishmedia.com/big3.